Oh man, it's time for another episode of No Label Live, the show all about labels and how they can be your biggest adversity or your biggest advantage. The choice is yours. Each week we bring on inspiring guests to share their story about how labels have impacted their life and the work that they do. So let's strap in and join this conversation. Hey guys, so I am here with my friend Colleen Linhart. Colleen, what's got you excited in these unique times we are living in right now?
What has me excited?
Yeah.
I think from any time of uncertainty is the clean slate that exists for all of us collectively. And when we see processes, structures, infrastructures, supply chains, everything break down, we have to ask, okay, what better possibility exists? And even if that possibility is not today, because there are so many restraints today that are keeping us from doing what we need to do, there will come a point where, okay, let's try this. What can we do? That possibility exists, and all of us collectively get to be a part of that.
Man, yeah, and I see it so many times during the day. Like, we get bombarded by all the negative stuff, right? The stuff that would have you step into fear. But I choose to look at things like there's so many people that are innovating. There's so many people that nobody ever asked them about the mask or anything like that, and they just said, "Oh, hey, here's what I know that I can do." So I see all these people sewing masks. I see kids at high schools 3D printing, and it's really that time of innovation, I think, to solve problems. Um, how have you in your life now as a coach, how have you kind of seen this innovation show up for you and what you do on a daily basis?
Well, I'm a coach and I utilize hypnotherapy and energy practices to help people come back into themselves, help people reconnect to who they are and what they kind of need to filter through to come back to who they are, to step into the power that is available to them. I've seen, even within my kids, the resilience and ways to have fun despite the uncertainty. Well, we can still get outside. We can get on our scooters and our bikes. So I don't know how much the innovation myself. I've already been seeing clients remotely via Zoom, so that's not new to me. I miss my clients in person because I think there is so much benefit to that immediate face-to-face interaction and the ability to hold space, literally hold space with each other. And I crave that and I miss that. And the 6 feet rule of even talking to my neighbors, it's like, oh, I want to give people a hug. I miss that. But it has been exciting. Even I'm in Columbus, Ohio, to see some of the local businesses innovate. Anheuser-Busch is making hand sanitizer. I've seen other distilleries making hand sanitizer in a different variety of form. I've heard of people, again, making masks, like you said, something immediate and much needed. And even like the plastic facial protective masks that manufacturers are making. Have you seen the video clips of Jon Bon Jovi and what he's done?
No.
Oh my gosh. Love Jon Bon Jovi. And he's just go to Instagram. He created a new song and he's asking the public to write the verses. So
Okay.
and every few days he will sing, he'll play his piano and sing what somebody else has written, and it's when when you can't, oh, I can't even think of it, but you do what you can. When you don't know what to do, you think of what can I do? And I think it's also very important and very relevant now. Gosh, I don't want to segue into this topic of life coaches because we all tend to get a bad rap. What are your credentials? Who are you to, are you a doctor? Well, no, but everything that I do know about every other life coach that I've met, there is a degree of feeling called to hold space for somebody else. There is that sense of calling, like, this is a way that I know how to serve and be present for another human being in a way that they don't have access to right now. It doesn't replace therapy. People need therapy. People need counseling. People may need psychiatric medicines to process whatever it is they need to process. But there's this dangerous slope that even with my other friends who are life coaches, we joke about of, gosh, you can't bypass the ugly feelings. You can't positive think your way out of things that are really messy and are really ugly. And you can't shame people for checking out. You can't shame people into, well, you should be using this time to learn a new language. You should be learning this time to get a new certification. It's like, sometimes we all need to go within. And I think for me, especially, I've really had to check out and face my own shadows. I really had to take time and feel those parts of me that are really angry. Because I don't really want the world to see that angry side of me. The parts of me that are really hurting. Not because of COVID-19, not because of things that my family or friends did to me. There's aspects of our own behaviors. There's aspects of our own lives and experiences and the stories we choose to tell ourselves to justify our poor behavior. It's like we all need a timeout sometimes and like, ooh, yeah. And how do you stop and say, okay, how do I love myself through this? How do I forgive myself for doing yet again what I thought I had worked through 10 years ago? Why is this coming up now? What is triggering me now that I think I have to do this? Something that was really profound for me, even yesterday morning, I just had to stop in my tracks when I noticed that I think we all try to do things when we feel like so much is out of our control. We think, okay, what can I control? And we start to do those things. And I found myself thinking, okay, I'll feel better after the lawn is mowed. I'll feel better after I empty the dishwasher. I'll feel better after I vacuum up the dog and cat hair in my house that's driving me insane again. It's like I've never vacuumed more than I have these last you see it, like when you're stuck there, you just see the dirt and the grime. And now, I've never been known to be a good housekeeper to begin with, don't get me wrong, but this is probably the cleanest and most structured my house has been. But I found myself, and I just realized I was in this pattern of thinking of, okay, when this is done, then I'll feel better. And I just like, all of a sudden this boom popped. I'm like, oh, well, when I get a good night's sleep, I'll feel better. Once my kids calm down and once they stop fighting each other and once I turn off the Wi-Fi again because they're been on their iPads way too long and they need to get outside. And it's like, stop. Like nothing else needs to happen for me to get to feel better. When I choose to pause, and I literally stood there in the kitchen and I put my hand on my heart and on my stomach and I'm like, stop. And I took a few deep breaths. And I was finally able to reconnect with that part of me that, yeah, it's okay. Nothing else has to change for you to feel okay. And for you to know that No, you can't control anybody other than yourself. And you can't shame anybody else for what they're experiencing or what behavior they need to show to work through their own anxiety and their own uncertainty right now. And the sooner each of us take responsibility for our own physiology, and there are tools and practices that you can do this. And it's not something that goes like this either. And you can't shame yourself by, oh, I'm so angry, I shouldn't feel angry. Well, there's a reason that anger is there. You get to go within and find it. But if you try to bypass it, try to do it later, I don't know. And, I pray for everyone on the front lines who don't get that privilege of pausing, and they've got to forge through. But when they do get that break, and when they do decide that morning before they go in, what spiritual practice can help me? What self-care am I doing? Who can I call to help me through this period right now when I am struggling? I think those are all important questions to ask. And I really appreciate the work that you've done. I'm so glad that I've been able to connect with you. And I know, I think I noticed you, I can't remember how many years ago at Summit of Greatness, but I never really wanted to part through the crowds and, hi, my name's Colleen, that awkward moment of how we all connect. But I'm so glad that this last year, that when the opportunity did arise, I did connect with you, and just thank you for sharing, because that takes courage. It's like, no one gets to escape the feeling of loneliness at various times in their life. And we all want to put ourselves in boxes and put other people in boxes. That's just how our brain works. We want to categorize things to understand things. So when a label is either placed upon it, or when we label ourselves as lazy, I'm procrastinating, I'm, whatever label you want to put on yourself for that time period, it might serve a purpose. It might motivate you through shame or guilt to do the next right thing. But you also get to change when you want to, and choose not to be an either or. It can be both and.
Mm-hmm.
And the label that you have doesn't need to define you. So I just wanted to thank you for that work, and thank you for what you do every day to serve.
Thank you for sharing that. I think you've unpacked a lot of stuff right there. And one of the things that came to my mind when you were talking about the people who are on the front lines right now, like I feel like we owe them a debt of gratitude. And yeah, when we come out of this, they're going to need space to let go of all the stuff that they're probably seeing and dealing with right now. And I think that's one of the greatest things that we're going to face as a country moving ahead, is how do we create space for them to release and let go of all the stuff that they're seeing and dealing with on a daily basis right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but I hope that when the time comes, we figure out something that helps the most amount of people possible in navigating what they're dealing with after this is over.
And I would want to invite anyone watching, challenge yourself to pick up the phone and call the frontline person that you know. And if you don't know them personally, you know someone who does know them personally. Sometimes a text isn't sufficient. Call them. Leave them a voice message with your voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it matters. I have a few different friends who are nurses, and I was feeling really overwhelmed myself a few days ago. And then I started shaming myself, like, why am I feeling overwhelmed? I'm not facing this disease every day. I'm not sitting in fear that I'm going to bring it back to my kids, like, and then you start to feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't, you can't, you can't do that to yourself. But I thought, why am I not reaching out to them? So I literally called one of my friends who is a nurse, and I offered her, like, what time do you drive in? Can you leave 10 minutes early? And I will sit on the phone with you in the parking lot before you walk in. And let's do a guided meditation together. Let's sit and let me help you get the mindset that is going to help you most. Keep your immune system strong. Keep joy in your heart alongside of the fear. You can have both joy and fear at the same time. It is allowed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be sad without being joyful. You can have both. It's okay. But I'm glad I did reach out to her, and we did have a good conversation. And the irony is not even like going into her workspace, because she wasn't in a hospital, but she's seeing patients outside of a hospital, but that, okay, she knows she's going to be going into a hospital soon.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of her fear, and I didn't realize, was coming back into the house with her kids, with her husband, with her family. And, you have to shift that mindset. How do you shift that mindset? And I don't know. I learn a lot from my clients, and I think every other coach feels that same way. What you think, it's like, no, it wasn't even half of, you have to listen and truly understand what people need.
Yeah, man. I think that's something that's, I've always felt this way, but I think that it's shining through right now, the importance of listening. And like a lot of us are designed, I don't want to put everybody in the box, but a lot of us are designed to want to fix every problem that we see, right? And sometimes that's not the answer. Like, I'm not meant to fix the problems that you have,
Yes.
or you're not meant to fix the problems that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have somebody who's there and can listen, sometimes that's all we need.
Yes.
And we don't, I think humans in general don't communicate well with, hey, this is my expectation for this conversation. I don't want you to fix something. I want you to just listen. And then when we get done listening, we can figure out, hey, is there something you can help me solve? Or you can just listen and be done. But I don't think we do a good job of communicating those types of things.
No, we all have an ego, and our egos get in the way sometimes. But our egos are important too. They get a lot of bad rap, but without our egos, I mean, we need to rely upon them to move forward sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think along that line of listening to others, and I can't pretend that I'm good at practicing this, but listening to ourselves, and not just the part of us and our hearts, but being open to that greater consciousness. I call that consciousness God. Whatever religious tradition, whatever spiritual belief system you have, that source, that thing that is unexplained, that power that is so outside of us, but yet can filter through each of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think each of us really now, it's important to make time to find a way to connect with that, whether it's meditation, whether it's running, whether it's yoga, whether it's picking up the phone and calling someone you love. There's there's a way to connect with that power source. And I think, especially now when so many forces are outside of our control, that the opportunity exists when each of us are connected to our own intuition. And when you get that idea in your head, or that feeling in your heart, or that nudge to do something, and sometimes your body might make you do something, you're like, why did I walk into this room? Like, what am I what prompted me to do this? And sometimes it's something outside of you that you cannot explain, but if you take that action 3 days later, it may make sense. And I don't know how else to explain that other than following your intuition. Or if it's somebody you haven't talked to in 20 years, even if you don't have a reason to call them, call them.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain that other than I think it's a requirement that we have to be the human angels to each other right now. And I think that's more relevant than other. We need to be the hero for ourselves, for our families, for those that we love, and we need to show up for each other. And we need to ask for help when we need it. When
The
we're
hardest
feeling,
thing to do.
yes. Or to admit, I don't have all the answers, or I'm in this spiral and I know a better perspective exists. And maybe I just need to be in this downward spiral a little longer before it comes, but don't stay there too long, please. Get the help that you need. Ask for help. Show up for other people. It feels good to help other people.
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking about was the farmer's parable when you were talking about like if we have an instinct to call somebody, to call them, but the farmer's parable says the farmer had a horse. The horse ran away. His neighbor found out that the horse ran away, and he said, "Oh, what bad luck." Then the horse came back with another horse.
What good?
Then I can't remember all of them, but he has a son. The son, I think he fell off the horse and broke his leg, right? And then a couple days later, they were getting drafted into the war. And every answer that the farmer gave, he said, maybe, well, look, we don't know exactly how things are going to work out, and we don't have to know. We just think we have to know. And that's where the resistance comes in. I heard one of my mentors yesterday talking about loneliness and sadness, because somebody was asking him, what do I do if I feel this way right now? He's like, well, the thing is, feeling that way is not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You are just making yourself feel wrong for feeling that way. And he said, the problem is, if you feel that way, but you know you don't want to feel that way, there's a resistance that's building up. So whatever you're feeling, and I don't know what the answer is going to be for you, but actually allowing yourself to feel that way, allowing it, and not giving it a label of good or bad. And say, if it's anger, what's a way to release the anger? What's a way to process through the anger? Like, it could be, okay, I'm going to go in this room and scream in a pillow for a minute or 2 minutes, or however long you need to scream in the pillow. Like, I think that's what we get to practice, is how do we actually deal with our emotions? How do we process them? And I mean, that's just going to increase our coping skills, because that's what we're all doing.
Yeah. and allowing each of those emotions to arise fully when we can, when we're in a safe space, when we can. And even more importantly, how do we process those big emotions without damaging other people's energy, without taking it out on those we love the most?
Yeah.
And we can't bypass them. And they do have messages in them. There's a need to be angry. There's a need to be scared. You know, you can't, you know, I don't want to discuss any of the conspiracy theories that are out there. And I'm sure we've all been exposed to some of them and hear these things about, I won't even go there because, and I'm not going to minimize them because I've explored some of those rabbit holes, and I don't want to think that those possibilities exist. And none of us, maybe someone really does know the truth. The truth. Well, it's not going to solve the immediate problems today. If that truly is the truth, what can we do collectively to remember our shared values, to remember that it's not you and me, it's us, it's we collectively. As much as we want to say, you know, these are our countries, it's like coronavirus does not stop at political borders. It does not care if you're Democrat or Republican. You know, it's like this is such an opportunity for all those polarized us and them, and there are shared values. We are shared humans. How can we, despite whatever truths may fall out of this time period, how can we look to someone else that we disagree with curiosity, with kindness, with questions as to what was their life experience and what are their truths that have compelled them to take on this belief system that is so different from my own?
Mm-hmm.
What are their strong belief systems and values, and what about me disagrees with that, and why is it triggering me so much? Because they don't think like I think, or they want to buy into a belief that is so not okay with my belief.
It's the major struggle of the want to be right. I think that's
Yes.
one of them. Like we all have a want to be right a lot of the time, and that's a strong thing to let go of. Just thinking about that, I think about in my own life how one thing can completely shape a belief system that's completely opposite to most people around you.
Yeah.
Like
Or
my
even someone you love deeply. You can love someone deeply and have very different beliefs than they do. And that's hard.
yeah, like my disability completely shapes a lot of things in my own life, and they're complete. If I didn't have my disability, I would be a completely different person, and my belief systems would probably be completely different just based on who I'm around and the environment that I grew up in. But that just tells you that one thing can make the biggest difference for you. But it's like the beautiful thing is my one difference can shape somebody else's view, even if it doesn't completely change it. It can shape them to have a deeper understanding of either why they believe something, or it can say, oh, maybe I need to give this a second thought.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it is okay to challenge your own beliefs every now and then, and to stop and think, okay, when did I adopt this? What happened in my life? And a lot of times, and this is why hypnotherapy has been so powerful, because it's not in your conscious mind. So many of our belief systems were shaped by forces outside of us at early ages. And it doesn't need to be traumatic experiences. It could be something random that your first grade teacher told you that you don't even consciously remember, but you've taken it on. And, oh, this is why I behave in this manner, because I have this belief system from when I was 6, you know?
Yeah.
So if you would have told me, I mean, gosh, I've been practicing hypnotherapy for 5 years now, but if you would have told me 10 years ago, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. But
Like, I'm not going to be one of those people.
like, yeah, I mean, there's so many fears around it, but each of us naturally are, it's a state of consciousness. And anybody who's studied the sleep cycles, you know that when you're first waking up in the morning and when you're first falling asleep, those, when you're not quite sure, am I dreaming, am I awake, that state of consciousness, when you're so relaxed but you're kind of in this dreamlike state, that's when you can shape your reality. That's when it's most advantageous to focus on what you want, focus on where you're going, focus on the joys and the gratitude, because that will strengthen the belief systems that you want to have. If you're falling asleep, freaking out about all the things you did not get done, it's not the cycle you want to get in. If you're waking up freaking out about, oh my God, I got to do this, that's not the state you want to be in. That's not, I mean, we've all done it, but to choose each day to stand up and this is who I am. This is what I'm grateful for. Where is my power today? What is one little thing that I can do to take care of myself so that I can take care of those that I love? That's our power source. And thinking of those things when you're falling asleep and waking up, that's where you change the trajectory of your life. And moving your body and recognizing you're not just your brain, you're not just your thoughts, you're not just your heart, you're not just your body. There's so much more to who we are. And
So, what's the one thing that you do that right now creates that joy for you?
When I make the decision to laugh at myself, when I catch myself going into the patterns that aren't serving me, and I can stop and pause and laugh and know it's okay. And you get to hold space for yourself. You get to decide to forgive yourself for all the ways that you have hurt the people that you love. And then you ask for that forgiveness too. And you get to start over every day. And humor and joy. Yeah, don't stay in the guilt and shame. Move through it. It's not gonna help you in the long run.
Well, and I think the beautiful thing of where we're at right now is, like, if I could recommend people do one thing, I would say if you spend a lot of time on Facebook, turn that off. Because you have an opportunity to actually forgive yourself and think about, like, shame is the outside world telling you you're not enough.
Right.
So turn off the outside world for a little bit and begin to ask yourself, is that truly what I believe? No, they're full of shit is what they are. And then it will help, like, shame and guilt, they come to a party together. Shame talks to guilt, and then guilt's like, oh yeah, shame told me this, so now I should be over here. Let me go do this. And if we take a practice to shut that off, even if it's just for a little bit each day, and spend some time with yourself in whatever way, journaling, meditation, whatever way that is for you, do it.
And count. I think you were probably at Mel Robbins' talk also. She's very popular, and just, coming back to the present moment, find ways to get back to your prefrontal cortex, find ways to consciously choose to do something. And even standing up tall and imagining your feet just grounded into the earth, even if you're at the top of a building and not actually on the ground, or if you have the opportunity to take off your shoes and socks, get out and step into the grass. Even if it's snowing, so what? A few minutes, you're not going to get frostbite in a few minutes, but ways to ground yourself, to remind you that you're just this speck on this planet. This earth is spinning, things in perspective, just ground yourself, put one hand on your stomach, one hand on your heart, and remember what it feels like to be alive. And stop and think, is there a tiger chasing me? Nope. Okay, I'm safe. I am not in grave danger. The adrenaline can relax. The cortisol can relax. And I am safe, and I am worthy. All of us are. Even the people we don't like, yeah, they have equal space on this planet too. And the more we look at them as wrong, it's not okay.
We have some visitors coming. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I've got an angry 12-year-old you might hear for a minute because I haven't been answering him. This is live. This is live. This is live. You want to say hi?
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Life in Quarantine.
And I can think of all the ways that I've
and that's what just happened is okay. That's real life. And it's
parenting coach. I do not have all the answers to how to parent. I am not. I've been thrust into this homeschooling role that my kids keep reminding me that you're not my teacher. That may be true, but right now I am.
Yeah.
I may not know how to navigate Google Classroom, but thank God you have a Chromebook, because there's many kids out there who don't. There's so many kids out there who do not have the tools to connect with their classmates and their teachers like my kids do. So.
Yeah. Is there anything, because we are coming to time, is there anything that we haven't talked about to this point that you want to make sure and touch on with the audience?
I think I'll share a way to connect with me if you want to continue a conversation, or you're curious on who my teachers are, who I've really admired, and what their strengths are. But before I do that, I think one concept that does keep me grounded in the world of self-help, there are forces greater than us that we cannot control. But for the aspects that we do, we get to provide grace for ourselves. And I cannot remember who I heard this concept from, but sometimes I'll just picture it just to help me in times of chaos and confusion, and in times where there's these serendipitous, really cool synchronistic things that happen. And wow, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have had this. We all have those miracles that have hit us at the fork in the road of life. But when we're in a time of chaos, and we're in a time of uncertainty, and we're in a time of fear and out of control, one visual image that has helped me is thinking of a tapestry, a woven picture. If you've seen like wall tapestries where on one side you see this beautiful picture of all these different colored threads, and they all make sense. Maybe it's a landscape, maybe it's a person, but it makes sense when you're looking at the front of it. But have you ever seen the back? Like if somebody does needlepoint,
yeah,
or any sort of tapestry. Have you seen the back of it where all the threads are going in all different directions and things are tied off and it doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
Somebody explained this to me, like, life is a tapestry. There's a needle that we hang on to. And sometimes, you thrust in one side of the tapestry and there's chaos and confusion back there. And you don't know what's happening, but somehow you come out on this other side of this tapestry. And wow, this is where you might have some sense of ability through your own imagination, through your own power of thoughts and choices and behaviors and actions that you do decide to take to determine where that point of entry is. Where do you want that colored thread to land? That's where your choice is. Power through. Okay, I'm on the outside. This is where I don't know where I'm going to come out the other side. Like that tapestry of life. It's like that helps me sometimes when I feel like things are out of control.
That's a great analogy.
What I've been doing now is I really enjoy collaborating with people, offering group things. And since COVID-19, I really haven't done anything online with other people, but sharing our gifts and talents in ways that serve collectively, I enjoy doing. There's a sound therapist here that I was getting ready to do a joint guided meditation, and she had her bowls that we were going to do something together. So that's something I'm looking forward to as we figure that out virtually. But I'm going to be offering group sessions via Zoom, whether that's a 30-minute coaching session or 30-minute hypnotherapy session, to experience that state of relaxation, that opportunity to go within and envision what you want. Reach out to me. I haven't been the most technically savvy in getting all my online stuff easily and accessible. Or if you want to work with me privately via Zoom, I love helping people. I love helping people shift from that place of, I don't know what to do with this, to pulling back the curtains to help them determine what's next for them, and walking through a period of their life to a place where they can, again, see possibility. So Facebook, it's Colleen Linhart Coaching. That's Linhart Coaching. Instagram, it's at Colleen Linhart. Those are the two places where on social media I do access things. But if there's a collaborative idea that you have outside of this, Nathan, I saw some of your videos with Katrina. Those are amazing. Those are so good. You're adding so much value out there to the collective that, if someone else who's watching this can think of an idea, I'm happy to do guided meditations, guided hypnotherapy, or just be present and bounce some ideas off of me. I love possibility thinking. That's what brings me joy, so.
All right, so we'll make sure and drop all that. So if you guys want to connect one-on-one with Colleen, we'll drop it in the show notes so you can do that. And then the final question is, what does no label defines me mean to you?
Gosh, we didn't even get to the specific label. For anyone who's had any sort of mental health DSM standard label put upon you, or that you've agreed to take on, there's a reason for that. There's a purpose for that. But don't let that limit you from what you think is possible. And we didn't even really get into what my label is, what my diagnosis is or was, or what that means. It's behavioral symptoms with a name to categorize and to help move forward. So I think that could be a whole nother conversation, or if anyone who wants to talk specifically about mental health and what mental health label they have or have been given or have taken on. And I'm not denouncing that. I just think that the need to categorize is part of our human nature. But who we are with that, it's limitless.
Limitless. I love it. Yeah. I think this was a great conversation. I want to thank you for adding value to the people who see this, to me, and even using it as a lesson for a young kid coming through the door.
Who hasn't had his lunch yet, who chose not to eat.
It's all good.
All good.
All part of that tapestry, right? So, guys, with that said, you're up to big things. And when you're up to big things, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit. And you can catch another episode of No Label Live again on Friday.
Thank you, Nathan.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of No Label Live. If you enjoyed it, make sure and share it with a friend and tag me. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Connect with me on YouTube and Instagram at _Nathan_Todd. And make sure and let a friend know that they are more than their label. They matter, and they are one step away from their success. And remember, my friend, you're up to big things. And when you're up to big things, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit. And you can catch new episodes of No Label Live here every Friday.